Right now, without feeling a single thing, you are moving faster than a passenger jet. If you are anywhere near the equator, the ground beneath your feet is racing toward the east at around 1,600 kilometers an hour. That is faster than the speed of sound. You feel none of it because everything around you, the air, the trees, the coffee in your cup, is moving at exactly the same speed. So let's ask the dangerous question. What would happen if the planet underneath you suddenly stopped and stayed perfectly still for just 5 seconds? First, we have to understand why you can't feel the spin at all. Think about the last time you were on a plane at cruising height. Smooth, level, 700 kilometers an hour. And yet you can stand up, pour a drink, walk to the back, and feel like you're sitting in your living room. Your body doesn't sense speed. It only senses changes in speed. A plane at a steady cruise feels like nothing. It's only the takeoff, the bump, the sudden break that you feel in your stomach. Earth is the smoothest ride you will ever take. It has been spinning at almost exactly the same speed your entire life, so you, the ground and the sky all move together as one, perfectly silent, perfectly steady, and yet you see the spin every single day without realizing it. Every sunrise you have ever watched is the spin made visible, the ground turning you eastward toward the sun, not the sun climbing toward you. We even kept the old words for it. The sun doesn't actually rise. We roll up to meet it. Now let's break it. The moment the ground stops, you run into the oldest rule in physics. An object in motion stays in motion. The planet's crust can halt instantly in our thought experiment, but you have no reason to stop. Neither does the air, neither does the ocean. Everything that isn't bolted to the bedrock simply keeps going east at the speed it was already traveling. It's the same physics as a car crash. The car hits the wall and stops in an instant. But the people inside keep moving forward at the speed the car was going until something catches them. On Earth, the car just stopped, and there is no seatbelt. Here's where it gets strange and almost beautiful. The disaster would not be the same everywhere. Remember, the spin is fastest at the equator and slows to almost nothing at the poles. So a person standing in Ecuador or Kenya gets launched eastward at supersonic speed. But someone standing exactly on the North Pole? They're barely moving at all. They'd feel a gentle nudge, the single safest piece of real estate on the planet, and it's freezing. I find that detail almost funny. The whole world in chaos, and one smug person at the top of the map, sipping something warm, perfectly fine. But let's talk about the real monster in this story. It isn't the ground, it's the air. Our atmosphere is heavy. The sky above your head weighs more than you'd ever guess. And all of it is moving east at that same enormous speed. When the ground stops, the entire atmosphere keeps its travel plans and turns into a wind. Not a strong wind. A wall of moving air faster than sound, sweeping across the surface, carrying more energy than every storm in recorded history combined. For comparison, the fastest wind gust ever measured on Earth was about 400 kilometers an hour during a tropical cyclone. We're talking about a wind 4 times faster than that, everywhere, all at once. And air moving that fast doesn't just push, it burns. Drag that much atmosphere across the ground at supersonic speed, and the friction alone would heat the surface, scorching and scouring everything the wind touched. The sky itself would turn into sandpaper. And then there's the water. The oceans are moving too. When the floor beneath them stops, all that water keeps surging eastward, piling into waves on a scale our coastlines have never seen, rolling over low ground and reshaping the map of the world in minutes. You might picture the oceans pouring onto the continents, and that instinct is exactly right. The water doesn't stop just because the planet did. Now, We promised 5 seconds. So what actually happens during those 5 seconds of stillness? Honestly, the hard truth is that the number barely matters. 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 years. The damage is done in the very first instant, in the change of speed itself. Once the ground stops and everything loose is hurled east, the planet sitting still for a few seconds doesn't add much. And when it spins back up to full speed 5 seconds later, the same nightmare runs again in reverse as the ground races to catch the air and water that are now drifting the other way. Sit with that for a second. The entire catastrophe lives in 2 tiny moments, the stopping and the starting. The 5 seconds in between are almost a footnote. So here's a question I really love. What if it stopped and never started again? This part we can actually picture because scientists have mapped it. You might assume a still Earth would just keep its oceans where they are. It wouldn't. Earth isn't a perfect sphere. It bulges at the middle, fattened by its own spin, so the equator sits about 21 kilometers farther from the center than the poles. That bulge is the only reason the oceans pool around the equator the way they do. Take the spin away, and over time, the water would slowly abandon the middle of the planet and gather at the top and the bottom. You'd end up with a giant ring of dry land wrapping the equator and 2 enormous oceans capping the poles. One planet split into a new world entirely. That bulge, by the way, hides one of my favorite facts on Earth. The peak of Mount Everest is the highest point above sea level, but it is not the point closest to outer space. Because of the Equatorial Bulge, that honor goes to a volcano in Ecuador called Chimborazo. Standing on its summit, you are farther from the center of the Earth than you'd be on top of Everest. The spin literally pushes the ground outward. I keep coming back to that idea, that we are all standing on something flung outward by motion we cannot feel. I'd love to know the moment it first clicked for you that you're moving this fast right now, sitting perfectly still. Drop it down below. I read them, and the "wait, I'm doing what speed?" replies are the best part. Here's the part that should make you exhale. None of this is purely fantasy. Earth really is slowing down. Every single day is a tiny fraction longer than the one before. The moon, tugging on our oceans, is very gently putting the brakes on our spin, stretching the day by roughly 2 milliseconds every century. Back when the last dinosaurs walked, a day was only about 23 hours long. The planet is doing exactly what our thought experiment did, just so slowly, so gently, that nothing is ever hurled anywhere. Life rides it out, completely unaware. And here's the part that surprises even scientists. Zoom in from millennia to single years, and our spin isn't perfectly steady at all. It speeds up and slows by tiny amounts, and lately the planet has been turning a hair faster than usual, giving us some of the shortest days ever recorded. For the first time, timekeepers are seriously discussing taking a second away from the clock to keep up. And maybe that's the real wonder here. The reason you feel still is not that you are still. You are spinning at the speed of sound, circling the sun at over 100,000 kilometers an hour on top of that, and riding with the whole sun as it sweeps around the galaxy faster still. 3 motions stacked on top of each other, and you feel absolutely nothing because everything you love is moving with you at exactly your speed. Stillness was the illusion all along. That's the kind of question we live for here at Briefly Science. The ones that take something you've never thought about for 1 second and make the ordinary feel impossible. If this made the ground under you feel a little less solid in the best way, subscribe and stay with us. And tell us which "what if" has been quietly haunting you. The strange ones are how the next story begins. We spend our whole lives convinced we are standing still. But the planet is racing, and the stars are turning, and the stillness we feel is just the gift of moving together. Hold on tight, you already are.